Hello.
Hi, Daniel. Hi, Andrew.
Hi, how you going?
Hi. So my name is Imran. I am from Untitled Chapter. I'm just checking if speakers are okay, if the mic is working, if you have any issues. I'll keep moving from different breakout sessions just to make sure like other breakout sessions are working as well. So
Cool.
let me know.
I want to see if, yeah, I'm gonna try sharing my screen.
Okay.
Or
I just did it.
Oh,
Sorry,
you go
I was
ahead.
just one trying to be.
No, you go.
Let me quickly open my PowerPoint over here. Sorry. Quickly open that PowerPoint. Yep, that's coming up. Put that up there. Let me just quickly run that slideshow if you don't mind. Play from start. That's working okay for you guys?
Yep.
And then do you?
Oh, that's cool.
Look at that. Even the video's running. That is cool. Got that. I'm good. Thank you very much. I'll jump off the screen share. Done.
And do you want to try?
Yeah. How do I? Is that working? No. Oh wait.
Not working?
Yeah, no. Okay. I'm just trying to see if I can do it from the thing, but it's not working that way. I can share my screen. I was looking to see if you can share just my whole screen, but just the just the window.
It could be possible if you do it through Google Slides. Just the window. Yeah, it's working like this.
Yeah. Oh, that's weird. Oh yeah, because that's the problem, is it ends up doing my whole thing, and it does all this stuff, which, 1 second. It goes everywhere. How do I go? Okay, I'm gonna see if I can try that again though. There, okay, that's so hop in.
Daniel, I'll be back in 1 minute.
Yeah, no rush.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that works. Great.
Hey, Daniel, can you hear me?
Yep. Cool.
Can you go ahead and say something for me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Okay, sweet. You can hear me loud and clear?
Yep.
Awesome. Let me just see if I can here. It's working again?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay, does anyone hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Hi, Carol.
Hi. So I was told log in early for check that I have connectivity correctly. So you see me, you hear me, we're all good.
I think so.
Okay. And we're starting in like 10 minutes.
Looks like it. Yeah.
Okay, I'll be back.
And
Hey Daniel, hey Carol. How are you? Everything okay?
good. I think so. Let's see. Let me try this. Make sure.
Hi Dale.
Hi, Andy.
Yeah, I think it's working. Hi, Dale.
Hey.
How you doing?
I'm okay.
Where are you based?
Sudbury.
Oh, nice.
So Dale, if you want, so you can present maybe at the end, just when we start to talk, so you don't need to be part of the startups. We introduce the breakout room, then we introduce Daniel from Terramera. We give the word to the startups, and Carol, that she is from NASA. And after that, we will go to this kind of panel discussion. That is when you can just present your who you are for 30 seconds, something like that.
Sure. Yep, sounds good.
Sounds good?
Yep.
Good.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Andy.
Hi, Simran. So Simran is
And
from Montana Tech. So Simran, we follow you.
no, I was just here to just quickly tell one thing. So, Andy, there might be a chance that someone is not able to see the sessions. So, if you receive any email or message, just let them know to refresh their screen. I think it's because I changed the time. So, that's why some people are not able to see the sessions.
So sorry, can you repeat that?
So, if someone texts you or emails you that they're not able to see the sessions, just let them know to refresh their screen.
Great. That's good.
I'll go and check other rooms. Let me know if anything. Nice to meet you, Drew and Dale.
Hi, Drew. How are you?
I'm good.
What time is there?
2:14.
How you feel?
Good. Pretty good. Pretty regular day.
So you want to check your screen? Do you have something to share? Some presentation?
Yes, I did check it, and it seemed to. I checked it about 10 minutes ago. It seemed to work fine. So I think we're good to go.
Great. you have any questions, how the agenda looks, what will happen?
I think I'm good.
Great.
So it's yeah, sounds like we're going to be each sharing quickly and then having a discussion later, right?
Yeah.
Great.
So Daniel, so I don't know if Daniel, you know Drew from Robo. Hi, Latin. I think it's first time we met.
Yeah, hi, Andy. How are you?
Very good. So do you want?
And do I need to have my screen on, like my camera for the whole time, or just when I'm presenting? What's your thoughts on that?
Ideally, everybody might have the camera on, so that helps just people see human faces during the conversation. Also, you, Daniel, you're the main,
Cool.
you're the protagonist here. I am just here to support you, but you are the one who
Yeah,
really needs to be present all the time.
Yeah, perfect.
So, Lalit, do you want to maybe check your sharing your screen? Did you have any issue?
Yeah, sure.
Good.
Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yeah, I can see your computer.
Awesome.
Now I can see your screen.
Cool. I guess it's all fine.
Yes, we're fine.
Sure. And let me stop my screen.
Well, you've got some cool stuff. I'm excited to connect.
Yeah, sure. I'm also looking forward to hear the other pitches as well. I guess I'm not the only one, right? So we have a couple of companies pitching in this room.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Where are you based, Lily?
I'm in India, but we usually based out in California Bay Area.
Oh, nice.
But we will be moving Canada soon once the lockdown once the flights are resuming.
Are you moving to Canada, or you just have doing some work
We're
up there?
relocating to Canada actually. So
Whereabouts?
So that's the reason we got connected for this program. So we will be
Nice.
somewhere in Montreal or Vancouver. We just finalizing the last which is going to be our base.
Come to Vancouver.
Yeah. I'm this is what we have incorporated in the company. So hopefully
I don't know. Montreal's got good, but I will say on the flip side, there's some really good grants to go to Alberta and such. So I feel like you should look at leveraging in Saskatchewan. There's a lot of ag tech and stuff out there too. But Vancouver is awesome. It's a really nice place.
We heard a lot of things about Vancouver and over to British Columbia. So let's hope that's going to be easy. Yeah.
Carol, where are you based?
Northern California.
Nice. Is it hot there right now? You guys also got the heat wave?
No, actually, we've had I live close to the coast, and we have a Humboldt Current that runs down from Alaska, really. Makes it almost halfway down the coast of California at pretty cold water temperatures. So it moderates the heat a lot. And right now we're actually having the fog from the from the coast moves in and out. Right now the fog has moved way in, and we're actually having a little bit of rain, which thank God, because our big risk is fire.
Yeah. Well, we're based in Vancouver, and it's getting hot, and it's definitely we're used to a June sort of nice rains, and for a long time everyone was really upset about the June rains, and now everyone's kind of hoping they come back, so that because it ruins our August, because August just ends up being fire season.
Yeah. Well, California all summer is fire season, but August and September is extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
So are we audience for this, or Or is it just us, or how does this work?
Yeah, the series are missing some of us, but basically at 2:25 we might start, maybe 2:26, just to give 1 minute for people to move to this room.
Right.
And then I will just introduce the breakout session, talk a little bit about Montiel New Tech. Then I will give the word to Daniel, Dr. Terramera. After that, to the startups. Or maybe after that, after Daniel, I will give you the word to you, Carol, so we have the opportunity to introduce yourself. Then the startups, and after the startups, we go into the panel discussion. Any question? Just please, when we are not talking, just put your mic mute. And also, if I would really appreciate, you can keep your camera on during the conversation. Doesn't matter if you are not talking, just please stay present. You hear some noise on my side?
I think it stopped.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know. I don't hear anything.
So we are very near to start. We just give you maybe 2 minutes more before to start. Just want to say thank you to Terramera, our industry partner here for this session.
For having us.
Well, I think we can start. I think everybody's here. So thank you so much for being here. My name is Andy Manel. I am a startup research director at Montiel New Tech. We are the 10 years old organization, a non-profit organization with the mission and purpose to fostering new technologies for a better future. So what we are trying to do, fostering new technologies through collaboration, through business collaboration between startups, industries, governments, and academia. So for this reason, we in a yearly basis, we try to collaborate with industry leaders and to bring challenge around industry challenge, right? And then to try to find out of the organization some tech innovation that basically startups are developing, and to try to put them together to see what happened to catalyze, in a way, potential collaboration between them. This is what will happen during this breakout session. We want to say thank you to our industry partner, Terramera. Terramera is an agtech company from Canada, and they bring to these creative collisions this challenge around soil drilling technologies. But I will leave with Daniel Feng from Terramera to introduce themselves, also to talk about the challenge. So I will just talk a little bit about what will happen during this breakout session. So first of all, Terramera will introduce and will explain what are the business challenge or the tech challenge they have. After that, I will give the opportunity to introduce Carol from NASA. The startups are here with us. And after that, we will spend around 25-30 minutes of a panel discussion, brainstorming around the challenge of Terramera. So please, Daniel, introduce yourself, talk about Terramera, so also explain why we are here today.
Great. Well, first of all, I really appreciate everyone being here. Can everyone see my screen all right? Just give me a, yeah, cool. I think so. Yeah, well, I'm gonna go forward. Let me know, Andy, if cool. Sweet. So let me start. Terramera is an agtech company really focused on unlocking the intelligence in nature to ensure an Earth that thrives and provides for everyone. We're based in Vancouver. We've raised over $100 million to date, have 130 employees and growing. We have over 250 patents. And really focused on kind of an integrated approach using kind of research labs, growth chambers, greenhouses, and a research farm, all kind of within our facility and within our team. A little background, we have 3 audacious goals to make the agriculture industry more sustainable. As you can imagine, I'm really focused on the third one. How can we increase soil organic carbon by 100% by 2030? When we really looked at that sort of challenge, one of the things that we realized is that there was a major gap in soil measurements. And that was a core thing that we needed to have to be able to see if we could get to that improving soil organic carbon by 100% by 2030. We see kind of 3 major issues around it. One is, the time. From deciding where to take a sample to having processed field scale data. It can take approximately 6 months to collect your samples. There's a huge cost to collecting this soil sample data, around $100 a sample if you're thinking about a comprehensive analysis, and when you include cost of labor, travel, and all those sort of other things that go into it. And then the difficulty around it is that soils are naturally heterogeneous, and it's critical to ensure that any survey, you get enough samples to be representative of the site. So this kind of increases the cost and the complexity. And then if you want to measure it year over year, you have to figure out how you can do that, and it adds even more complexity to it. What we realize is that existing companies are just not equipped to support the needs of both farmers and carbon buyers and other stakeholders in this space, and definitely not to kind of meet our sort of needs. So we've approached it a little bit different. We're focused on bringing in the lab to the field to have kind of a leverage different technologies using our machine learning to get the benefits of high accuracy technology on one end and tying that in with kind of low accuracy but high amount of data on the other end. And we think that, this solution will require taking a lot of physical cores and conducting spectroscopy and using other geospatial tools such as drones, satellites. Our secret sauce is, combining it all together to significantly reduce the cost and deliver kind of a $5 per acre analysis for quantification, which we're tying into kind of carbon markets. And I'll talk a little bit about that later on. I think for us, if we think about the soil sampling process, it really hasn't changed. There's some extra tools that you can kind of use around it, but if it's really finding the place to dig a sample, taking it out, sending it to a lab, analyzing the samples, and visualizing the results. And there's some, technologies that are expediting or making these different parts more efficient. But realistically, this is like quite a long process. And especially if you want to kind of follow like the gold standards or the best ways of doing it, it takes quite a bit of time and quite a bit of sampling and quite a bit of cost. So we're kind of envisioning a new soil sampling procedure. The same day process is kind of what we're talking about. And it's finding the right places to sample, using a sample extraction combined with an in-field analysis, and then being able to visualize those results kind of in real time. And I think from that side, we kind of we believe that there's a way that we have the ability to analyze carbon in situ in soils, but we're really focused on how to get the soil cores collected, ideally intact and down to kind of a meter or so in depth, and then placed in a format that we can analyze them visually and do that many times over. And so the idea is kind of like, what is soil sample extraction 2.0, and how we can kind of combine. So this is where we're really looking at partnerships in that space and really excited about that opportunity. Two things that just, that we're like really kind of considering about that is, that the solution will probably be in a rover or tractor. When we think about the amount, especially in Canada, the size of farms, you can talk to, we were doing soil sampling in a 100,000 acre farm. It needs to be able to get from place to place quite quickly, and something to consider. And then, the idea, and also that combination of that onboard ways of measuring carbon, which I've kind of alluded to. And we're really excited about this and see there's a really big opportunity. One, because we just announced a significant funding around reducing that quantification around soil carbon for carbon markets. And there's this huge, $100 billion potential opportunity for carbon markets that farmers could be tied into. But it's not just about soil carbon markets. The other side about it is that if we have a better understanding of soil health and an increased carbon, we think that there's a tie into more profit for farmers, a much more resilient agriculture communities, and then of course drawing down large amounts of carbon, which is hugely beneficial for the environment. So this is kind of where we're tied in. We see we've got a lot of different of the pieces together, and so we're looking to make sure that we can collaborate to work with other companies on getting there. And that's Terramera, and really to kind of show our sort of challenge that we've looked at.
Thanks so much, Daniel. So now we give the word to Carol. Carol is a research scientist from NASA. So Carol, now you have like 2 or 3 minutes to introduce yourself. After Carol, we give the word to the startups, and after that, Terramera. Go ahead, Carol.
I probably won't need 2 or 3 minutes. So I'm a planetary scientist, actually specialize in search for life on Mars. In that vein, I have been involved for like 2 decades now with robotic drilling experiments. And the first one of those was actually performed in Rio Tinto, Spain, which is in this very southern part of Spain near the city of Sevilla. And it is one of the world's oldest mine sites. And we are actually looking at a subsurface ecosystem, a couple of 100 meters underneath this, the land surface. Autonomous drilling technology, and I did that work with Honeybee Robotics, who has gone on to build a number of robotic drilling systems, and they've actually been selected to be part of the Viper mission with something called the Trident drill, and this will actually be drilling on the moon in the next year. Actually, this 2022 is the first landing of this drill on the moon, and then the Viper mission is a rover carrying a drill system into the South Polar region of the moon to do a resource extraction and analysis, looking for water as a target for future supporting inner space or interplanetary transit vehicles and human landings and human settlement of the moon. So water is a key resource. I guess in you guys' case, carbon is the key resource. So that's my background. And I work at NASA Ames Research Center in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Thanks so much, Carol. I'm so excited to have NASA here. So we believe at Untitled that innovation and good ideas come from anywhere. So NASA have too much to offer to innovation here in Earth that I'm very glad to have you here, Carol. So now I will give the word to SensaGrass. Lalit, please pitch your startup after Lalit. So SensaGrass, after that,
Sure.
Deltion, Rogo, Swan. In that order. You okay?
Yeah,
Good.
great.
Go ahead, Lalit.
You know, if you can see my screen.
Yeah.
And it's changing as well, right? Awesome. So I have 3 minutes, so I'll start now. So hello, everyone. I'm Dalit. I'm the co-founder and CEO of SenseGrass. SenseGrass is a soil intelligence platform. So according to United Nations, around 65% of excessive fertilizer remain unused in food production. So I'm not going deeper into the problem because Terramera has already explained the problem very well. And this excessive fertilizer leads to many problems. Of course, the high carbon emission, food lost, and of course, the most important, financial loss. And why this excessive fertilizer is a problem? Because currently the traditional way how we are measuring our fertilizer and soil health quality is through the traditional approach, where we take the random soil sample, go to lab and do the chemical testing. Lengthy process, expensive. At the end, you only get a test report. Highly complex method, and is a very leads to many problems. And to solve this problem, SenseGrass brings the soil intelligence platform. Our full stack solution help companies to improve their yield and profitability by reducing their input cost. Our full stack solution is a combination of our own patented NPK soil sensor and AI agronomics. Our AI agronomics is a SaaS platform that measure 4 different type of proprietary data layers coming from our own proprietary NPK soil sensors, weather information, satellite imagery, and climate-based manual information. We combine all these data information and giving the very personalized insights about the soil quality, soil fertilizer to the agro corporates, and as well as to the farmers. So this is a quick look how the dashboard looks like. So we initially started our first product with the NPK sensor, while we also in the process of developing the world first autonomous soil testing rover as well. So you can see the dashboard is overwhelmed with a lot of information. And whenever something changes in the field, let's say you spread the fertilizer or there is a huge continuous rain, it gives you pop up and it gives you start warning, hey, you have a low phosphorus or high nitrogen because of this and that reason. You increase your phosphorus by 3 level east from here, you will get in desired yield. So it gives you a lot of information and proprietary, information personalized recommendations on the basis of soil nutrition as well as the other options as well. We are third generation farmer, Forbes 30 under 30, MIT 35 under 35 team members, or around 30 years of experience, born and grew up between the farms in India, but now the first generation immigrant in US and Canada now. Apart from our own founding team, we have a great experience from some of the advisory and board member from Corteva, John Deere, who are helping us to build this great product. We are developing the world's first farm operating system that connected from the multiple different silos or microservices, and it gives you and monitor you the different crop cycle and soil intelligence that help you to improve your yield and reducing your resource cost, which is fertilizers. We already have seen a great traction in the 1 year. We are focusing more on the enterprises and farmers. Through our traction, we have around 1.8 million US dollar in sales funnel. Why we are here? Because especially with the Terramera, we would like to go for the more research and development for our autonomous rover as well as for the NPK sensor. So we can develop this first of kind real-time soil testing and nutrition detection technology to the large extent to these enterprises as well as to farmers. That's all from SenseGrass. I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Thanks so much, Dalit. So now, please, from Rogo, please, you have the word. Share your screen. You have 3 minutes.
All right, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
All right, I'm Drew, president and co-founder of Rogo. And I'm going to make this pretty short and snappy. Basically, what we are is a robotic soil sampling as a service company, delivering the world's best sampling at scalable costs. And we have a balanced approach of lots of innovation and nimbleness, but also real results and paid acres. And so our primary solution is a self-driving robotic soil sampling system, delivering exact depth and the right location of every single core extracted, and that's sold as a service. And how that works is a customer submits a work order to us, we go out and sample the field, ship the samples to the lab using the customary method, and then you get your data. The second big solution that we have is full accountability and traceability for every single core. The depth, the precision of the extraction, so that there's complete transparency in the process. Some of the problems we solve is the soil collection error itself in both the depth and extraction quality, removing the lack of accountability, solving labor costs of sampling, and providing a comprehensive a comprehensive scalable solution that helps with a variety of things beyond carbon. What is real about us today? We're the top 5 US ag sampling company. We're doing about 400,000 paid acres in 2021, 98% customer retention, multiple patents approved. The world's first self-driving robot in commercial agriculture that's being utilized with that caveat, and have begun multiple R&D projects for carbon verification, including measuring bulk density at scale. What we can do, as you're hinting at, is put sensors on the robot. We can also do analysis at the field or on the trailer to speed up the process and lower lab analysis costs. Here's how we see the carbon measurement strategies out there. We believe that we can actually make a scalable cost solution with the current lab analysis solution, which we believe we need to accumulate more data in the marketplace today in order to actually validate at-field analysis solutions, which is the next step in the process. And then there's sensors in the ground. We believe that those have cost, power, and land management hurdles, in addition to being even harder to get accurate measurements. And then there's obviously the approach of not measuring soil at all, which I don't think we need to talk about. Some of the problems with the other carbon sampling systems out there today, obviously you have mechanized bulk density probes, zero scalability with those solutions. You have hand probes on a four-wheeler that are, mediocre scalability, but have bad soil quality because soil stops flowing into the probe. You never know if you're getting a proper core of soil. And then you have mechanized probes like the Wintex, again, mediocre scalability and have absolute terrible quality because soil flow stops a lot into the probe. And so in summary, we have a track record of delivering innovation and results in the area of soil collection, both on R&D, research and development of new things, and also delivering a scalable solution. And we provide scalable and high quality data, which we believe is going to be the best carbon underwriting system that's available. Thanks.
Thanks to you. Great presentation. So now we give the view from Swan Farm Robotics. Please, Andrew, share your screen. And you have now 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Great. Is that shared okay?
Yes.
All right. I'm Andrew Bate. I'm the founder of Swan Farm Robotics, and I'm also a broadacre grain farmer from Queensland in Australia. Swan Farm is the execution platform for autonomous agriculture. There's two things that we do. We build autonomous robots for agricultural field tasks, and we've got an ecosystem called Swarm Connect so that independent developers can release new ag tech onboard our robots and deliver new solutions for agriculture. Here's one of our robots running on a grain farm in Queensland. It's fitted with a 12-metre boom, and it's using weed detection cameras to spot spray individual weeds. It's fully autonomous, running 24 hours a day, and it's got a built-in weather station so that it stops when the weather's bad. You see, we've had precision ag for a long time, but the difficulty is in applying new technology out in the paddock to actually change the field practices that are used to grow our crops. We partner with independent developers to release apps and attachments on board our autonomous robots to help solve agriculture's problems. Our robots already work in a lot of industries, including grain, cotton, horticulture, turf farms, and orchards, and we're one of the first companies to successfully deliver commercial autonomous robots to farming customers. People think of robots as labour-saving devices. However, all of our customers are chasing a far bigger return on their robot. If you look at the robot at the top left, it's actually slashing grass in a macadamia nut orchard. This is a big picture project where we started out with slashing operations. However, we're moving to all operations, including spraying and eventually harvesting the nuts as well. The one on the top right is a fertilizer spreader. What we're doing here is applying targeted precision application of nitrogen, and that's important because we're actually in the catchment of the Great Barrier Reef, and runoff of nitrates are super important. The one on the bottom left is fitted with weed detection technology. Our customers are saving up to 95% on their herbicide bills, and it's helping them tackle herbicide-resistant weeds and move away from complete reliance on glyphosate. The one on the bottom right is working on a turf farm mowing grass. What that farmer is actually achieving is a 24-hour mowing cycle of his farm and more regular cutting of his turfs give him a thicker, better quality turf that can be sold for a premium. Most importantly, it's our focus on Swan Connect partners, the app developers on board that are making our robots more valuable to our farmer customers. Over the past 4 years, Swarm Farm robots have commercially weeded, sprayed or mowed over 300,000 acres of farmland here in Australia. We're now interested to take on pilot customers in Canada, and we're looking to find the right early adopters to begin that journey. We're also looking to partner with other agtech developers with technology that can be delivered to customers via Swarm Connect. And we think that autonomous soil sampling technology is an ideal application to be added as a feature onto our robots. Ultimately, we're revolutionising agriculture by providing the robotic platform that delivers precision technology. Thank you.
Thanks so much. So I'm almost ready to start our panel discussion. I will give the word to Dale from Deltion. If you want to introduce yourself very quickly, and then after that, we join the open discussion between us.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. Hello, Carol. It's been a while since I've been in the business, almost as long as Carol, I think. So I'm the CEO of a robotics company in Sudbury. We're primarily focused on mining, but we have been working on space mining technology for about 20 years. And we cross the sectors. We go from space back to the terrestrial mining sector. So we've been building drills and sample devices and analysis systems and excavators, that kind of stuff. We do not build rovers. We leave that up to other people, other universities. You know, you can buy a rover for just a few dollars now from almost any university. So we don't build rovers. The problem that you describe, Daniel, is similar to one that the mining industry has. There's bottlenecks with analysis and the time lags. And if you're sampling from surface, what typically happens is they have this massive core buildup, and then they start trying to analyze all this stuff. And they can be 2 or 3 months between pulling a core out of the ground and actually getting a certified analysis back. So we've been working with some local companies to leverage our space capabilities, our space technologies, and move them back into the mining industry so that we can actually get analysis right at the spot. As the core comes up out of the ground, we can analyze that, doing an elemental analysis, which is, I think, what you're after, as opposed to a compositional analysis. And we could do an elemental analysis that is traceable back to the typical assay labs. And that's done right on the spot. And what's happening now is that technology is being deployed pretty much across the world. The units are built in Australia. They're shipped around the world. They're used, and we're the service and maintenance group for the North American market for these particular units. It's based on an X-ray fluorescent unit. And yeah, you're smiling and nodding, or at least you're nodding, so you're familiar with them. So at any rate, it's fully robotic. It's designed to take a lot of the questions out of the hands of the operator and get that traceable analysis back, virtual real time. So we're the robotics company that does that kind of stuff. We don't build analyzers. We use somebody like Bruker for the analysis, for example. And we don't build rovers, but we do the integration and the robotics. One of the drills that we built was for the early precursor to the NASA Viper mission called Resolve. And that was a drill that was designed to go down 1 meter and capture a sample of the lunar soil, which is powdered. maintain its stratigraphy, and return it to surface for analysis. So just that's kind of who we are.
Thanks so much, Dale. So now, so it's an open discussion. I see maybe you have some question for some of the startup, for Carol. So basically, how this work, there is no specific structure or way to go beyond this next 25 minutes. But let's try to respect the space of each other. So let's not to be too long. But Daniel, I want to believe that you might have questions for some of the startups. And if not, so some of you to feel free to ask questions for Daniel, ask questions for other startups for potential partnership, and just to talk about this issue of carbon quantification on soil.
Yeah, so I have one question to start with, and one of the things with soil carbon quantification is the issue of bulk density and how soil samples are pulled out. And I know, Drew, you talked specifically about bulk density measurements with regards to it, and I was kind of curious if you could go into a little bit of detail about that. And I think, Dale, I'm kind of curious, that dust idea, I'm sure that you're also, that I'd love to know a little bit more about the technologies that are involved, but maybe Drew, you can start, and then Dale follow up.
Yeah, sure. So, there's rigs out there, that have been used in other industries like construction that have massive, 6-inch, sort of probes on them that you can put into the ground and get an accurate bulk density measurement. That definitely exists, but none of those are scalable to the degree that we've found necessary in agriculture. And so what we've been developing in conjunction with some other carbon verification projects is a much smaller probe style extraction system that is bulk density certified, that maintains the integrity of the soil core as it moves up into the probe. So that's what we've been working on and have very promising results so far, and expect to have something next year that we hope is bulk density certified. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I'm always curious about when you say bulk density certified. That's a certification. I'm kind of curious.
I'm making that up. I'm making that name up. I mean, it achieves the accuracy of bulk, a dry bulk density test with a standard 6-inch probe within, let's say, 99%. Pick your number.
Okay, yeah.
Whatever quality is determined necessary. I don't think there's a governing body on bulk density.
Carol? Oh, you're on mute.
So actual data product you're trying to get. Dale thought it might be elemental analysis. I suspect it's not, but isn't it bulk carbon or total carbon?
Well, so for us, what we're looking at is a nice sample that we can analyze with our sensor that gets pulled up in real time. So we've got some technology that we're wanting to use with regards to that. And so we're really looking for kind of that core that comes out that we can kind of analyze on a regular sort of basis and pulling out. Does that
the farmer need to know? I mean,
well, yeah. So that's
pick the sensor to answer the science question that you have, right?
Yeah, well, so my view on it is soil carbon right now is helpful for a farmer compared to a carbon market buyer. And in the sort of stages around it is that I don't think we know what to do with a carbon measurement quite yet. And there's not necessarily that next step of technology. I'm sure, Drew, you're nodding your head of someone, we have some thoughts around it, but I still think that NPK does that, most of the data that you would necessarily need for farmers, but it doesn't do soil carbon measurements, which you need for carbon markets. So I still think there's a gap. What we're looking at is how we can collect a significant amount of data and pretty rapidly and improve our experimental time frame for building out technology on that side. So collecting significant amount of data. Yeah.
So I think that there's a variety of drill integrated sensors that you might, plausibly use, and you just put that in your drill. So you get that data in real time as you're drilling. But the question is, what is the data that you need? I mean, if it's you got to define that first, or what is, if you send it to the lab, what is the information you're getting back from the lab?
Sorry, I just muted myself. So yeah, it's a good question. So we're looking at, as I say, I think part of this is that there is, we're still putting together all of that framework around what data is going to be the most important data for the carbon markets and for farmers longer term. And so I think that there's still like, we're kind of, we want more data right now, but I think in that sort of approach so that we can then focus on the specialization of it. But one of the things about this is that in our approach, and I can't go too deep into it because this is part of like what we're building out within our sort of strategy around that, is that what we are looking for is that technology to pull out. So I guess like Carol, when you talk about there are sensors in it, I can say that those sensors aren't really meeting the needs of data that is being collected for our needs around that. Drew?
So when you say that it costs $200 per sample, what data are you including for that cost? Like, what's your assumption? Basically, like the two big questions I have is how many samples per acre or acres per sample, however you want to say that, $200 per acre. What goes into that, and then what analyses are you what data are you asking for to get to that number?
Yeah. So for us, I think we are like, I think there is a mixture of the soil sampling, like it's costly to go to a ground, pull out a sensor. And I think, the idea of having kind of soil sampling as a service is it probably reduces a lot of those costs down already. But I think then there's that time lag. So we're like, bulk density measurements, total carbon, organic carbon are the areas that, we're looking at with regards to it. One of the issues around that is that, the in situ and moisture causes a huge issue for measuring that in the field. And so we're looking at how we can kind of reduce that. But we have, as I say, some technology that we're building out. And so for us, we're still in that, not early stage research and development, but we're putting together that side. So it's about a mass amount of data that we're trying to collect to build out more of these models. Andrew?
Daniel, I may have missed it because I did about for a little bit, but the sensor that you've got in mind, how do you ideally want that sample to be analysed? Can it be dropped down the hole, or has the sample got to be pulled out whole, or can it be augered out in a loose form? Or how ideally the sensor that you have in mind at the moment, how would it need to receive the soil, I guess, or interact with the soil?
Yeah, I think an auger is not going to work because I think that it needs to be whole to some degree. I think we want it as intact as possible so that we can do different types of measurements on it. And we could potentially use, so part of it is that, you also want to be able to, especially to do a lab analysis to compare it to. So there is over the next bit, there's a bit of that training side of it. But whether or not it's in or being pulled out, I think it just needs to happen we're open to it as long as it can be replicable and that whatever's most cost effective. And I don't think we're not kind of saying it has to be in the ground or it can be pulled out. It just really comes down to what's more practical longer term once we really test that out.
And have you done much work on, I guess, the density of sampling points across a field, as in how many per hectare or that sort of thing? And also, do you want to sample in grass pastures and open country and treed, country that's not cultivated or farmed?
So I'll answer that second one first. Yes, I think the idea of measuring, there's a huge interest in soil carbon opportunities in regenerative agriculture and pasture land. I think that's a key part of being able to measure. So that is of interest. I think. Sorry, I forgot the first part of the question. So.
Density.
Oh, density. Yeah. So, I think it's a really interesting question because I think that we also don't quite know the density about it. So I think that for the time being, we're looking at quite a dense for the next couple of years, definitely a very dense sampling set, as dense as we possibly can do. That's efficient, but longer
like 1
term,
acre
I think,
grids. Like, what do you consider dense?
yeah, I would I'm not the soil scientist on our side. I have to like talk to my team to specifically go, but I would say, an acre at least. We're looking at for some of that as well. And I think there are ways that, within our model that we're looking about how we can be efficient. Part of it is, it's always a time cost side of it. So with regards to it, we're still trying to put together that balance of what is going to be the best data that we can produce from it with the input from it. So if we can reduce our costs for in situ, like sampling inside, then, and we can do it 24 hours a day and just have that running, then, let's go as dense as possible. But there are certain barriers for that. So that's why this is why it's really exciting, because I think this conversation for us has opened up opportunities for us to, explore that a bit further. And so I'd say that, this is why I don't think I have all the answers today, but I'd love to explore those with you guys.
Is 1 meter that you want to be able to extract to commercially?
I think, yeah. I don't think we need to go beyond a meter.
Okay.
There's very little. Yeah, that's what but I think that's where we're at today. Yes, that might change, but for right now, I think that's it.
Yeah, I was very curious on the timing. Typical timing that we're able to achieve is about 10 days in total once you factor in the labs. And we're much lower already than the costs, that sort of $200 per acre cost that you're looking at. So we could get into that more. And as far as development, sort of developing on the go, if you're trying to, train models to basically get better, to, make the in situ model more accurate, I think that's something that could be easily integrated into the flow of the current system.
I think, as I don't, he's not on right now, but as had been talked about by the Sense guys, the problem with going into labs is that there's huge variance based from each lab, and so you're gonna send it to one lab and you're gonna send it to another lab, and you're gonna get a 40% difference from labs. And I think that for this, that's just the inconsistency there is going to be pretty problematic for this. And so that's like, every part, there's more stuff that you can start to see that, and so creating some standardization around that. So that's why we're very focused on not using kind of a long-term lab approach, because we think that longer term, it's just going to be the methods that are being done in that way are just inconsistent. To build up, it probably is useful, but yeah.
Yeah, by the way, we've done some research. We don't run a lab, so we've done some independent research on labs. And while there are some labs that vary heavily, there are a couple national labs that have very reputable results, and 40% sounds astronomical to me. The number I'm familiar with at these labs is about 5% repeatability. So I'm not sure where that research is coming from, but that'd be one thing to look into. I think as you're factoring in the sort of the full analysis is how truly bad is the lab today. I know you want to move to something else, and I totally get that. That makes sense to me too. But I think there are some valid measurement techniques that you can use to validate your model.
I'm still not hearing the measurement requirements.
Yeah.
Before you can design your system, whether it's downhole or whether it's in the field or whether it's sent to the lab, you have to understand what your measurement requirements are.
Yeah, and that'll dictate your sample size as well. So you're not going to pull up a 10-inch diameter sample if you only need a few centimeters.
Yes. So I think that's where we're looking at technology, what it currently exists, and to build that. Like, I think there's some flexibility around that, Carol. As I think we're trying to see what is working in the field that you can collect the amount of samples, because part of this is making sure that you can commercialize it and that you can get the scalability side of it too. So I think that there's, from our sort of side, it's a conversation about what type of samples we can pull that we can do, thousands of acres at or millions of acres at. Because if we kind of, and this is, I think, part of the thing is a lot of it has come from the research institute, from a research side, which is very prescriptive and that side. And I think that what we're finding is that the conversations of scale just don't align for what industry and research groups are talking to. And so that's, it causes stalemates.
But in the example of the Australian fellow, was talking about pesticides, right? Looking at the buildup of pesticides. So that would be a specific measurement, I assume, maybe like for phosphorus. So,
yeah, so
anything you can do spectrally, you can do downhole. So, that would be, an advantage, because then you can do it, definitely can do it quickly. At least in terms of the data collection. Now, the analysis is a different problem, but
spectral is the side, I think, but there's different, as I think, Dale, you're talking about using gamma versus spectral. I think I think there's multiple parts to it. But for us, it's a measurement of soil carbon and bulk density. NPK, those other things are useful, but less so. And moisture is the other area that we think are going to be the three core things to build out. But there's going to be more. We'd like to collect multiple other data sets to understand how those are correlative. And
are you looking for seasonal variations, or are you thinking one-time grab samples per year, per season, every 5 years on the same field?
Yeah, well, I think that this is where the protocol for carbon is in flux around that. I think from our side, for soil carbon, well, at least most of the research shows it doesn't change as much seasonally, but there's some, there's debates about that. And so I think we are looking seasonally. I think for us, I think the core about this is how can we collect more data around this and make that more cost effective. And so that, we can move towards it, because the soil carbon side of things is that, it's expensive to run these experiments to date in the research side of it. And so you collect what you can. But I think there's a significant amount of unknowns from what we found. And that's part of the problem around a carbon market being developed for it.
Yeah, Daniel, I feel for you. I've had similar conversations to these where, you're basically in this phase of determining what you can reasonably get at a reasonable cost. That's why you don't know exactly what you want to measure. I totally get it. Across all the groups we talked to about probably 10 carbon verification groups. It seems like the core measurement, to speak a little bit to your question, Carol, core measurement things that are needed for the carbon side is total carbon. Some people are taking an organic carbon approach, but typically total carbon, then the dry bulk density. And then the reason I think NPK and moisture or those types of things could be powerful, or at least enabling sending that to the lab, is the way you're going to reduce costs significantly is if you can do this sampling at the same time you're doing traditional NPK sampling, which a farmer is already paying for, 70%
what is
of the
NPK?
time. Nitrogen, phosphate, and potassium.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with what Drew said, in that I think the problem here is what's the sensor package that's required to do this in the field. I think we all agree, or I think there's a pretty good understanding that the logistics of pulling soil cores and sending away to a lab to be analysed isn't logistically feasible in terms of time frame, cost, and logistics. I think the big problem to solve here is what is this sensor? Which is what Carol's alluding to. What is this sensor that can do this in real time out in the field? Once that sensor is identified and selected, soil coring and an autonomy to collect it solved effectively. There's known ways to do it, but it's this sensor that we need to know the requirements of what the sensor needs to do in the field, because it once the sensor selects, it's really just engineering and logistics problem.
Right, and I would recommend not to go down this let's just collect all the data we can think of. I mean, that's
Oh,
not,
sorry, I
that's
don't.
not going
I'm.
to be efficient.
Yeah, no, if that came across as that's approach, we have a pretty, we have a soil scientist within our team that's quite focused on it. And I think that, as I alluded to earlier, soil carbon, bulk density, moisture are the core things that we're looking at. I don't think I've changed from that. Those are the areas that are focused. I think, Andrew, you're right. And so from our side, that's why, our focus, we have that sensor that we're building in our, but as I say, we're working and we're trying to find the partners that can build the mechanical piece that we can connect that to. And we're excited to have a further conversation to dive into that specifically. But it's still, it's in the development, and we can't kind of publicly share that to that stage.
Thank you, Daniel. Let me give the opportunity to Jim Richard from Deltion. He hung up before, so maybe Jim, do you want to say something? Unmute. Jim, you're on mute. Sorry. So we are very near to the end of this panel discussion. One of the things is, if you have some kind of last word to say or a last question to ask, this is the moment. Daniel, if you want, or if you are open, maybe at 3:15, I can ask to you some question from the chat. But that is just optional. Also, we give you the opportunity to people who are watching us to come here to this conversation, to share their screen and to ask questions directly to Daniel.
Yeah, well, I'll answer a couple of questions from the chat. So, David, from our side, we have an integrated R&D team that includes, biologists, computational chemistry, all that work within our machine learning. So early on as a company, we started to combine our scientific and our technology teams together. And so I think that, I think that's where, we're excited about this space, is that how do you start to have the conversations from scientists and technologists who don't usually connect. And, that's something that as a core thing that Terramera provides. Christopher, for the why sample so deep to a meter, because I think that, that's at least a meter is kind of the quality of data that you need to collect. If you look at Australian samples, it's close to that number that for soil carbon measurements. And I think that even though topsoil is maybe some changes, there's significant data that you need to understand below just the topsoil depths to make this, a credible space. So I think that that's definitely, there's a couple answered questions I wanted to kind of answer. And then I think from the carbon market standpoint, they want to make sure that there's a high level of quality credit. And so the more you can de-risk and understand the space, but realistically, as we've kind of shown, is that soil, one piece of soil, one piece of soil, and it's not necessarily translated. It can be translated, and people are working on how that can be translated to other places. But I think that we need to significantly increase the amount of soil capture being done in this space for this industry.
One other question that we didn't discuss is, are you looking at stratification at all? Are you planning, like in the meter, are you wanting to cut that up into any sort of multi-chunk segments?
Yeah, I would say so. I think that there's definitely, for sure, because what we're finding is that if you start to mix the samples, there's a different view on it. So from our side, it's how can we collect within that probe and that data that's being collected, how the more unique data that is not mixed together, the more value that there comes from that.
So
awesome.
We are very. So go ahead.
I was just going to say, Austin, that makes sense. We've been working on basically a two-stage and considering a three-stage, three strata collector machine. And I mean, this is basically what we're doing right now as we speak, minus the sensor. So
I'm excited to connect. Like, I think that, both Drews, you guys have, exciting technology in the field. I think that autonomous, like we talked about the fact that collecting soil samples is hard work. And I do think that if we can figure out a way that to hook it into a autonomous robot or rover or something, I think there's a huge value. Dale, I think that, I'm really excited to learn a little bit more in depth about kind of the tools that you guys are using from Australia as well. And so, I'm really excited about continuing the conversations with everyone.
Thanks a lot, Daniel. So I will respect the time for everyone here. So it's 3:15 is the end of the session. So thank you so much for your insight, for your questions, for your participation. So just to let you know that looks like we have some interest to continue this kind of conversation. So Monty and Nutet, we find a way to make this connection happen. So we will let you know how this will happen in upcoming days. So thank you so much. If some of you want to stay here in this room and continue the conversation, go. If some of you need to leave, I want you to respect your time, but thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much, Carol, to give us the opportunity to bring someone from NASA, for amazing questions that you have. That's it. Thanks, Daniel, also and thanks to Terramera to bring this challenge and to be partnered for this creative coalition.
Andy, I just want to say thank you to you and your team. We asked for a very specific niche group, and I'm so impressed with the companies that you guys brought forward. So thank you so much for the work that went into that.
So thanks so much.
Bye, everyone.
If you want, you can continue in the networking. There is a session for networking where you can meet people from the conference. Also in the expo session, if you want to know more about Monty and Nutet, you can go there. I think I will be there to ask questions around Monty and Nutet. So that's it. Thanks so much. Have a great day to everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks very much.